All right, let's jump right into this explainer. We're looking at one of the most wild and complex geographic anomalies on Earth. We're going to look closely at a place where continents quite literally collide, where deep history intersects with modern-day struggles, and where geography creates a situation that honestly almost defies logic. It's a story of a border that is just as unique as it is challenging.
Just 5 kilometers. I mean, think about that for a second. Every single year, thousands of people risk absolutely everything they have to cross this tiny, tiny stretch of water. When we think of epic journeys or massive geographical barriers, we rarely think of a number this small, right? But in this specific context, those 5 kilometers represent an enormous divide between two completely different worlds. Section 1, the 5-kilometer crossing, a tiny stretch of water with massive stakes.
You know, when we picture these perilous journeys, we usually imagine sprawling deserts or vast, unforgiving oceans, but not here. This happens right between Morocco and the Spanish enclave of Ceuta. It's just water, but man, that specific water holds an incredible amount of weight.
Section 2, Europe inside Africa, a geographic and political anomaly. Here's the core paradox, and it's a real head-scratcher. Geographically speaking, Ceuta sits entirely on the African continent, but politically, it belongs to Spain. That means it operates fully as a territory within the European Union. So you literally have European soil physically resting right there in North Africa. That contradiction right there, that's the engine driving this whole shebang.
Now, this story didn't just pop up out of nowhere this week. If we trace it back over 500 years, this tiny territory has been connecting Europe and Africa, serving as a massive hub for trade, military strategy, and human migration. Fast forward to today, and that deep history has basically transformed Ceuta into one of Europe's absolute most sensitive borders. And that tension, it led directly to a massive flashpoint in July 2026.
Which brings us to Section 3, the July 2026 crisis, tens of thousands in hours.
So year after year, people try to reach Europe through Ceuta using just desperately extreme methods. For a lot of folks, that means trying to physically scale these incredibly high, heavily fortified fences. For others, it involves attempting to swim around incredibly dangerous maritime breakwaters. And tragically, a lot of people never make it. But the physical danger just doesn't stop the attempts because they're driven by the pursuit of a better life.
So, what exactly happened in July 2026? Well, tens of thousands of people crossed within a matter of hours. Just sit with the scale of that for a second. An event of that magnitude completely overwhelmed local services, almost instantly. It escalated so fast that Spain actually had to deploy extra security forces just to manage the sheer volume of humanity moving across that tiny 5-kilometer gap. As you can imagine, this immediately snowballed into a massive humanitarian and political crisis. Striking images started flashing across screens all over the world, putting a huge global spotlight right on Ceuta. The aftermath was, to put it mildly, highly complex. A lot of people eventually returned to Morocco, but many others remained, leaving officials totally scrambling to address a highly sensitive, rapidly developing situation. Section 4. Why do they cross? Unpacking the core motivations.
This whole thing really forces us to ask one absolutely critical question. Why? Why would thousands of people risk their lives at sea for a destination you can literally see from the shore? Why face the fences, the breakwaters, and all that immense physical danger just to travel such a short geographic distance?
Well, the answer is a lot bigger than any single event. At its foundation, it's driven by this deep, deep search for economic stability and the pursuit of new opportunities. And this is compounded by established migration networks that specifically funnel people toward this exact route. But the ultimate magnet? It's Ceuta's unique status. Stepping foot in Ceuta means stepping foot in the EU, while you're still physically in North Africa. That allure is just incredibly powerful.
Section 5, a continent divided, the global fallout.
This specific crisis from July 2026 has sparked some seriously intense debates all across Europe. Officials are constantly going back and forth on border security and debating potential shifts in European migration policy. On top of that, it really highlights the deeply complex, constantly evolving cooperation required between Spain and Morocco. As officials continue to navigate the long-term consequences here, one thing is clear. Balancing security with humanitarian concerns at this border is hands down one of the most difficult diplomatic puzzles in the world right now.
The shortest distance on a map can become one of the longest journeys. Ceuta stands as this vivid reminder of the countless human stories crossing two continents. 5 kilometers might look like absolutely nothing on a globe, but the true weight of that distance, it's immense. So, as global pressures continue to mount, it really leaves us wondering, how long until the next 5 kilometers tests the limits of Europe's borders? Thanks for joining me for this explainer.